post-match pint. It is part of the Anfield Wrap 3-week, well-timed that. I'm Neil Atkinson and I've got Stu Wright and Neil Dockin here after Liverpool have fallen to a 3-0 defeat against Nottingham Forest. Stu Wright, I just want to get in on, there's a fair bit actually to talk about in the game if you can try to pull the emotion out of it, but keeping the emotion into it for a second, and I think the emotion is all part of it. As soon as it went 1-0, that Liverpool side looked utterly lacking in resilience. That's not the first time this season. I'm terrified to say I just don't think it'll be the last. It went 1-0 to the opposition and it felt like Liverpool had no more to give. And that is a huge concern, given the fact that Liverpool, even if they play well, which we'll come on to, I would argue they did at 0-0. Even if they play well, they are going to go behind this season. And as soon as they go behind, you just think to yourself, well, they're fucking finished here.
I can't get past the fact that there's just an overwhelming sense of sadness about this. You're right about the resilience. Liverpool were bright. First 20 minutes or so, Liverpool bright. I was saying to you before, and before they scored the first goal, if Liverpool had been 2-3-0 up, no one would have argued. But it's non-shows, I've been angry this season, I've been frustrated. But I don't feel like that today. I think there's a bit of that about, but I listened to the way the cop sang "You'll Never Walk Alone" towards the end, and it was just an overwhelming sense of sadness and almost acceptance of what's going on. I think the Robbo interview has probably shook a few of us to see him like that earlier on this week. I think Liverpool's resilience that you talk about there. I think that there is a huge problem now. I think it's evidence that, to me anyway, the dressing room looks broken. It absolutely looks broken. They don't look like they have that inner resolve, that strength to overcome setbacks. And all of it is understandable. All of it is understandable on a human level. And there's certain things that I just think are so rare, so unusual that Liverpool have had to face this season, in terms of, obviously, we can't get past what's happened to Diogo, and I think Liverpool. Everyone in the media, everyone outside of Liverpool talks about the money we've spent. And listen, if you sign those players in any other circumstance after you've won the league, those players walk into a dressing room that's bouncing and full of confidence, and that confidence is contagious, infectious. And I think it's a very different story. But I think when you look at the players that we bought players, with the exception of Frimpong. You bought players that are quite insular. They're quite single-minded players. I talk about Wright, I talk about Isak, and the players that were existing at the club, that were friends and had a relationship with Diogo, who were the big leaders. I think they're really struggling internally to be able to overcome that. And as I said, I referenced there Robbo's interview midweek as evidence of that. And I think this is a real issue. I think if you sign players, and listen, with hindsight, you can't legislate or compensate for what's happened. But I think if you sign players who are, I suppose, big personalities, it might help us, drag us through a situation like this. But I think there's a real problem, real sadness in that dressing room. I'm also arguing with myself throughout this, by the way, because I can't get past the fact of you've signed someone like Isak to be the tip of the spear.
But they're playing games of football for Liverpool in front of this crowd, in front of a worldwide crowd, they are the champions as part of all of this, Stu. So I think a lot of what you've said genuinely is fair. But I'm trying to argue with you rather than have you argue with yourself. Ultimately, if what you're saying is, for instance, an example of the case, then I'd almost go, well, it'd be great to see more rage. I'm not seeing them rage against what it is that's going on. This is back to your sort of acceptance thing there. But also, I think if you're able to be good, which they were for 35 minutes, then the flip side of it is, if you do concede and it does all feel a bit on top, maybe it should be easier to go, fuck it then, forget that. That never happened. We were playing well, we keep doing the same thing. What I'm finding hard is I think they're feeling sorry for themselves. And I'm not saying, to what you've just said, they haven't got real reason to feel sorry for themselves in a personal capacity. But them feeling sorry for themselves in that way is leading to us watch what was, I thought, from the goal going into 55, pretty fucking dreadful football, pretty spineless football, and what I thought from the third goal going in, pretty much until the end of the match, to be pretty unprofessional football, frankly. Yeah. And no one's making them play for Liverpool. They might feel an obligation to do so, but if you play a football match, you're going to go behind. If you play a football match, you risk losing a football match. And that used to be, I thought, the special power of this team. They were playing a way which said, you know what, we might lose. And at the minute, they play in a way which goes, one thing goes wrong, fucked, aren't we?
I think you're right, and I think under any other circumstance, you would call that performance spineless. I think it was. Once they've gone 1-0 down.
Once the goal's gone in. That's the point. Once the goal's gone in.
It is spineless, but I think, I think there are reasons why, obvious reasons why, that I'm reluctant to do that just on a human level. I think this is a mess. I think this is a nightmare that Liverpool are going to have to fight and crawl their way out of. I'm also critical of 1 or 2. I know the talk about Isak. He did not have a pre-season. He's not the first player in the world not to have a pre-season.
But why is he on the pitch?
He went early in December, and I want to see him having a bit of fight. He's been bought to be the tip of the spear, and I don't think he's showing. I don't think he's leading. I don't think he's fighting, and I think he should be, because even if he's not fit, he can blow himself out for half an hour, show some leadership. I think he needs to give his head a wobble. I think he's also got form for that. I remember even last season at Newcastle, there came a point where Eddie Howe, around October, November time, actually had to call him out in the press, and it was at that point that he changed the way he was playing. He was more aggressive, and he became the player that we saw last season. There's that. I think there's also a dressing room that's trying to pull itself together, and one of the lads, and I feel really, I mean, maybe I shouldn't say this, but there's one of the lads who are flirting with Real Madrid, and I think he'd be looking to play for Real Benidorm at the moment. I think it's for a lot of different reasons.
But the same
it
thing
feels
applies.
broken.
Can I bring Neil in one more? Canate, to me, in a number of ways, he almost epitomises this, in that I thought he was fine. He plays a lovely little ball into Salah with his left foot at one point when they've tried to press him. I'm thinking, you know what, we're seeing a good Ebo here today. It's an innocuous way to give a corner away. It's not good enough. He should do better. We then concede, and he was genuinely appalling from then until the point he got substituted. Genuinely, unforgivably appalling from that point. At no stage does he go, I just need to pull myself together here and play 5, 6 out of 10 for a couple of minutes. He was dreadful. But he'd been fine. I'm not saying he wasn't setting the world alight. He'd been fine to that point. And that to me is again an example of it's hugely frustrating. And if you want to be looking around, whether it's Real Madrid, Paris Saint-Germain, Real Benidorm, wherever you want, and you're saying I'm worth X amount a week, you're not worth X amount a week if you cannot sustain 90 minutes of football with one setback. You're not worth any amount of money if you go as soon as one thing goes wrong, especially if you're a centre-half. If you're a left winger, that's fine. That's football. There's mercurial left wingers. You don't get to be a mercurial centre-back, and he was fucking awful from the point at which it went 1-0.
Couldn't agree more. I think he's been disgraceful all season. I think he's been absolutely shocking. I think one of the lads sat with me was surprised when he went off and we brought Atkinson on. We swapped them. And I think, in simple terms, though, regardless of formation, you're taking off your worst player. That was it for me. You're taking off your worst player.
And it's not the first time this season he's done that either, the manager. He's done that previously, hasn't he?
Well, he did it last season as well. When we went to the air gaff, and Jota actually comes on and scores to make it 1-1. Jota scores, makes it 1-1. Big moment last season when he does that.
But the difference this season, he's hooking Canate, and you're relieved when he's going off.
Yeah, you're not going, that's a tactical move from the manager. You're going, he's took the worst player off.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's terrible in conceding that corner. I mean, we pretty much, I wouldn't say they were like, quaking in their boots, but we've laid siege to their goal for the best part of half an hour.
Yeah.
And I was turning to my dad and saying, I can't believe how many times we're getting behind them, turning them round, and how many balls were fizzing across the box.
Creating really good chances.
More than we've done all season, I would say, over and over. And Gakpo looked really bright for me in the opening stages.
Kirkes attacked well.
Yeah, the two of them, I thought Kirkes looked comfortable. Gakpo was attacking well. Salah, I thought, was brilliant at times in that opening stages. The one jinking run where he twists and turns, I think he lays in. Kirkes doesn't quite connect with it. McAllister has, a couple of shots back to back. So it's encouraging.
One which is past the keeper and it hits a lad in the head.
Yeah.
And that feels like your key moments. If that goes in, and if it hits him anywhere, it probably ricochets in. If that goes in, then Liverpool are then 1-0 up and we go from there.
And they probably go on and win the game, but I almost don't want to hear any of that because that sort of fair weather team, a team that when the going is good, they're fine, but as soon as the chips are down, they crumble. Are the sort of team that for years I've despised, the teams we all mock, typically your Tottenham Hotspurs of this world, teams when the going's good, when things are going their way, they can put on a show, but when things go against them, they fold. And at the moment, I'm looking across the pitch, and I'm seeing a lot of small, weak players. And I don't mean physically, because some of them are taller than I am, but they're all shrinking, and they're small, and they're weak, and they're not winning their battles, and they're folding. And as like you said, as soon as something goes against them, their heads drop. Maybe they're unfortunate with the first one with, is it Undoy who's in an offside position, stood in front of Alisson Becker.
It's like a fucking piss take, doesn't it?
Just like fucking 2 weeks ago.
But again, I wouldn't mind if I got the impression, at least metaphorically, someone was going to wrap his hands around the referee's neck.
Yeah, but
that doesn't happen. Or someone's then going to spend the next 5 minutes making a fucking point somewhere.
Where's the kickoff? Where's the bookings? Where's the anger? Where's the rage? You won't see them raging. And then I thought we were fortunate with the next goal that was disallowed. Because I couldn't see anything wrong with it personally.
It's the underside of his arm.
Does it?
Yeah.
I mean, it looked close to me, but I thought we were fortunate.
It's the underside. And if it hits your arm and then you have a shot, it doesn't fucking matter. It gets given every time.
But then to come out after half-time and immediately concede again by not being committed in the tackle, I think it's McAllister when he goes to Williams. They're lining up to shoot.
They're all asleep at the wheel. At the wheel.
And you've had 15 minutes to regroup. They just look to me like they're not clear of mind or purpose at the moment. They look confused, they look muddled, and then time after time in these games we're seeing a scenario where the manager's making changes for the worse, and we're just throwing on attackers, we're losing our shape. By the time they score the third, I think we're a bit of a mess at the back really. Robertson's not great at all, and then again they're queuing up. It could easily have finished that game 4 or 5 or even 6-0. I thought we were fucking dreadful in that second half. From the goal, really, we were dreadful, but especially in the second half. And we
get our act together, I think, for the 10 minutes after Ekitike comes on.
Yeah.
I felt there was a bit of a sense there of this is where we are.
But why is Ekitike not starting? You mentioned it briefly earlier. Isak hasn't been playing in the international break. He's not played the second game, has he, because they're unsure about a suspension. Ekitike is one of the shining lights this season, one of the few players who's come through the door. You talked about personalities. He's a big personality. He backs himself endlessly. Starts him up front.
Why do you think he's not started him?
I think he feels maybe a pressure that he's got to get Isak up to speed. But you're playing a Champions League game midweek that if we lose, I'm not arsed. It's not the end of the world. Before this game starts today, I mean, if you're offering me 3 points today and 3 points against West Ham, and then you say, they draw against PSV, or, they narrowly lose, that's not the game to prioritise. Today's the game to prioritise. So
I think he's trying to get him up to speed.
Yeah, but he's tried to do that with McAllister for months. And we're losing football games every fucking week. This is 7 and 8, isn't it now? 7 and 8 games we've lost in the league.
7 and 9.
7 and 9.
Oh no, in the league. No, in the league.
In the
7
league,
and 8.
it's 7 and 8. And if we go to West Ham and
lose,
lose,
6 and 7. 6 and 7.
And if we go to West Ham, I'm going to lose a count. So many fucking just shows you how many defeats it is that nobody can keep track. 7 or 8 or 9. They're losing every other week in the Premier League. And Ekitike's come in and made an impact, and the manager's not using him. Just the issues at right back where he's brought in. We already had one injury-prone right back, and we brought in a right wing back or a right winger, or whatever you want to call him, in Frimpong, I think his injury record was okay.
Really strong.
Really strong. But obviously they're both out. Szoboszlai has been our brightest performer this season. And again, we're moving him back to right back. That is the manager's choice. He has Ramsey. He does have Gomez. He can play Curtis Jones there.
Well, I think he's not Ramsey. I think if you want to talk about lads who aren't up to it physically, looked exhausted against Palace after half an hour.
And he's probably the last of my picks. But
so would you pick Jones?
Yeah, Jones. First and foremost, Jones. Second, Joe Gomez.
I'd have picked Szoboszlai.
Yeah. See, I wouldn't because...
And I think Szoboszlai being there was part of why we were really good when it was 0-0.
Well,
that's fine. I mean, it's like, well, then what are you doing? And then over the course of the game, he then flips them in and out anyway.
Yeah.
So I did a little bit like there was an on-field discussion as to who's actually playing right back. And in the end, we resolved that matter by playing no one at right back.
No, 100%. But when him and when we've got the ball and Szoboszlai's spraying it around and supporting the attack, yeah, of course, I agree with you. But the press isn't right again at all. And he leads the press. Teams are playing through us so easily. It's so comfortable for them today.
I don't... So again, I can't believe I feel like I've got to stick up for them. I thought they pressed really well at 0-0.
At 0-0?
So,
I don't care about 0-0.
But these are different issues. My issue is, I'm not sticking up for any of them.
Good. Good.
After it goes 1-0.
Yeah, all right.
My thing is...
We're in violent agreement there.
So if you want to say how the manager set them up and he's chosen to do this and he's chosen to do this, and I disagree with it, and I think the Isak thing is a live conversation, by the way. Do you pick a lad to play him into form or do you play the form lads? For instance, you could say, lad, if you start Ekitike, we have that much territorial dominance, we have that much ball, we have 70% possession and all the territory, and you've got Ekitike, it could go 1-0. Fine.
He was a passenger, Isak.
But at 0-0, I'm saying, if you're the manager, 30 seconds before the corner's conceded, and you go, do you think he set these up right? You go, well, he has, yeah. My issue is, I think there's just a distinct lack of will to sort it out as soon as it goes 1-0. At which point then you can say, well, the press wasn't right, or this wasn't right, or it might be different if Szoboszlai was in here and all that sort of stuff. But for me, I'm almost like, that's like number 9 on my list of concerns by that stage. Whereas, you know, up the top of the game, when it is 0-0, I'm going, well, this all looks to me like it's working quite well.
So number one is what? Mentality?
It's just a complete lack of resilience. Bad things happen to you when you play footy matches. And we look surprised by every bad thing that happens to us this season. Not just goals. We take every blow as an absolute body blow. On the commentary, and I don't like quoting Mancunians, because they very rarely speak in good faith. But on the commentary, when Van Dijk's goal was disallowed against City, Neville says sometimes that sort of thing is something that spurs a team on. And I've seen teams, opposition teams when I'm watching the match as a neutral, Liverpool teams, have something like that happen to them, and then they have 5 minutes where you can't live with them. And if they don't get the goal that they think they're being denied, then, you know, you're left going, well, fucking hell, they broke the backs to get it.
Down, yeah.
Whereas Liverpool against City was the absolute opposite. So it's not as simple as, you know, oh, it's every time there's a goal they can't cope. It feels to me as though every annoying refereeing decision gets at them. Everything that can go wrong in a football match just hurts them too much. There's not enough go fuck yourself. That is my absolute number 1 issue at the minute watching them. There's so little go fuck yourself about them.
It's the biggest problem we've got. The biggest problem we've got is the mentality. It's all up here with them. You can see it a mile away. They can put 20 minutes together where they're well on top and they hit a hurdle and they fall apart. It's all up here. And that's the problem that I think it's going to be the hardest thing to sort, because you can sort out. We can talk about players like, I agree with you, Ekitike should have started. I had a different take on it. I thought Ekitike was a passenger against Manchester City, but he was bright as anything, playing off the left for France. I think Ekitike's best form in Germany was when he played with a partner, and he played off the left with Mamouche through the middle, and they would dovetail. And I to be fair, I think that Gakpo must have compromise, serious Russian-level compromise on a manager at the moment. People can debate and say, oh, you know, he might have had a bright 20 minutes or whatever. I don't think... I think he had to play Isak today, because if you're not going to play him today, when are you going to play him? But I'd have liked to have seen him play Ekitike off the left. But all of these problems, I agree with you, Neil, the secondary, tertiary, the way down on the list of what is the number 1 biggest problem, and that is all up here. And it's going to be the hardest thing to solve. And I think the manager, we can criticise his decisions, and I think rightly so in certain circumstances, and it's certainly worth the debate. But I think he has got an unbelievable mental job on his hands to pull these players out. It'll be a job that he's never experienced before. Nothing will have prepared him for this. It's bigger than which players you're playing where. It's much bigger than that. Liverpool, the players that are on that pitch there today, even if they weren't going to be my 11, they're good enough to absolutely smash, to pulverise Nottingham Forest. They're good enough to do that. But for some reason right now, they can't. They're incapable.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is that all that's valid, but these football matches are going to keep coming thick and fast.
Playing on Wednesday, playing next Sunday.
You know, and at the moment, I can't see them going down and winning at West Ham. Because they don't look like that.
I think they'll win at West Ham if they score first.
Well, yeah, perhaps so. If everything falls into place for them.
If they score first, they'll win. Currently, genuinely, any Liverpool game, you might as well just overcommit on betting play. You might as well go mad on betting play. In that Liverpool score first, they'll win the game. Liverpool don't score first, they won't. And today was just the quintessential example of Liverpool score first, they win the game. Liverpool don't score first, they won't. And I'll give a bit of credit to Forest in that I think they hang in well. They know they're second best, but they think we'll get something. If we just hang in, we'll get something at some point. It's a great finish for the goal that I think certainly wasn't given last week, if you know what I mean, or last game week. And I think they play well, Forest.
But as soon as
we see us coming and go, these are, and you almost wonder if it's part of Dyche's team talk. Lads, one, they'll probably give you one if you keep it tight. Do the best you can. Two, once they've given you one, they're going to find it hard. And if I was Nuno Espirito Santo, I'd be saying the same thing going into next Sunday. If I was
just hang in there
at Liberties, I'd be saying the same thing. If I was Daniel Farke and if I've still got my job, I'd be saying the same thing, especially at Ellen Road. You just hang in there, fight for your lives. At some point you might get given one, and when you do, you'll be facing a completely different football team.
But if we're in this position again in another 2-3 weeks' time, we all waited during this international break, looked at the running fixtures ahead of us, and talked about if they post 3 or 4 wins here, the season will look very different. There's favourable fixtures on the horizon.
Yep.
This is form now as bad as I can recall since the days of Hodgson. You know, it's dreadful form. It's the form you'd expect of a side like Wolves, you know, where they. And at some stage, what changes?
Don't know.
You know, honestly, like, and I don't know either, because I don't know. I can't imagine that board will have any will or inclination to change the manager after everything that's happened.
I'd be astonished.
And I'd be astonished too, after everything the club's been through, after the summer we've had, all the context that you laid out at the start. Because on the one hand, you want to come on here after a performance like that and just fucking slaughter them.
Yeah.
Slaughter them, slaughter the manager, slaughter Konate, although I think we did a good job of that.
Yeah, burn the place down.
Yeah.
You want to burn the place down when you come out after a game like that. But on the other hand, we've all got massive amounts of sympathy and empathy for what they've all been through collectively from top to bottom of the football club.
Yep.
But, so in the short term, I just don't see what changes. I think we're going to have, as you said earlier, I think more days like this to come, and I think we're going to have to strap in for it.
But I think what we've got to therefore do, my one thing for the manager would be, so this is the Isak point, Ekitike point, whatever way you want to do it. My one note is, if I know we need to score first and we need to probably score in the first, therefore, half an hour, then we need to make sure every team we pick gives us the best chance of scoring first and scoring in the first half an hour. That's it. If you know what I mean, like that's it. So, for instance, I think it's dead hard for the manager to bomb Konate and pick Gomez. I've been calling for it, but I think it's really hard. And the reason why I think it's hard is he doesn't know if Gomez will just go and get an injury. And it's not about that. It's if he bombs Konate, picks Gomez does 3 matches, gets injured in game 4, he's then going to start turning back around to Konate and go, you know how I bombed you out? Well, could do with you coming in here now and doing a job for us. He's managing people.
Yeah.
But that said, I just wonder if you have to say, well, right now, you mean I'm less likely to get to an hour ahead, so you can't play for me. The other one should. And just go do that all over the pitch and say, this is what we'll do. How do we make sure we get it? So, yeah, I need to pick my best 3 attackers. Sorry, Cody. I need to pick my best 3 attackers who I feel are likeliest to kick it in the goal. You're not currently in that list. Sorry about that. That's the way, maybe that's just got to be the way it is. But apart from that, I can't think of anything else, genuinely. I can't think of anything else I'd say that's what he should do.
100%. I think that's what he's absolutely got to do at the top end of the pitch. He's got to have the most likely to score on the pitch. And I think if you've invested so much in these 2 players, these 2 front lads, you've got to give them a chance of forging a relationship. Isak looks like he's crying out for someone to be buzzing around him. He's crying out for it. Gakpo looks like he's playing a different game to everybody else. He plays his own game. I think your issue with Konate, and my God, I don't want to see him playing in a Liverpool shirt. But the scary thing is, as much as I want to see Joe Gomez play, history tells us that Joe Gomez needs about 4 to 5, 6 games to play himself into form. He normally, when he comes into the team after a long absence, he has a couple of stinkers. And he almost needs to get past that. But at the moment, Canate's throwing a stinker in every week. So I just feel like, what have you got to lose there? I mean, at this point, I'd rather play Robbo centre-half than Canate.
Well, I'm not that far away from saying you can make an argument if everyone was fit, which obviously they're not. You just play Gravenberch centre-half.
Yeah, I was just going to say that.
If we're going to do that anyway, then just do it from the start.
And go to the 4-4-2. We spoke about it this week, you and I. I feel like he tried the 4-4-2, didn't he, briefly in Europe, as a way of getting someone up there with Isak, playing Ekasike 2. Chiesa's obviously comfortable as part of a front two. I think perhaps 4-4-2 is the way home in the short term.
I thought Salah was really good.
Yeah.
I thought he was really good.
Especially first half
no one
hour.
wants to hear it, but I thought he was really good.
Who's that?
Salah.
Yeah, no, Salah showed for everything. He kept running, he kept having a go.
He was keen as mustard.
But the bar feels really low, and that we're judging him against the other players. Comparatively.
And he's off in
really
2 weeks.
Bar. And he's off in 2 weeks, yeah.
I mean, I'm not worried. I can't think about that right now, Neil. I've got enough on my plate. Got enough on my plate.
Yeah, we all have.
I think the thing is, I think we're all in agreement. We've come at it from different angles, but we're all in agreement that there is a massive problem here. It's beyond the players, like who's getting picked. It's beyond formations. It's up here, and that is the hardest thing to overcome. And the manager's going to have his criticism, and rightly so in quarters. But my God, I don't envy his job right now.
It's been post-match pint with Neil Docking and Stu Wright. Thank them very much for coming along and being part of the whole thing. It is free week on the Anfield Wrap. Every show is out for free. You haven't got to watch them. It's not some sort of contract. You haven't got to watch them. The only way out is through.